Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And it's a great day for a Pirate Broadcast, and we're here with Tripp, and we are going to talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of whatever we're pursuing in 2021 and making a difference, making it matter. Tripp, good morning. How are you, my friend?
I'm well, Russ. Thanks for having me. Appreciate that intro too. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, you know, those that may not be familiar with Tripp and who you are and what you're all about, can you give us a 2-minute stretch on somebody that would recognize who you are and how people can relate to who you're doing, what you're doing, and who you are?
Yeah, well, I would say that I was fortunate enough to start a company 5 months out of college. I went to art school, so I didn't know anything about business, but I was able to build that business that, of my dreams. I built something to support the lifestyle that I wanted, and I was able to make music and have my own record label and travel and surf, and it all looked amazing from the outside, and yet something was missing, and I thought I was just being a pansy and spoiled brat and something must be wrong. But actually I was, out of alignment. I was out of alignment with my deeper values and who I was becoming. Mm-hmm. That meant that I slowly transitioned into becoming a professional coach. People these days might know me more as the host of the New Man podcast, which has been going for 13 years. But my coaching work has been going for 15 years. And I coach mainly men, primarily people that were similar to me in the sense of like, hey, there's got to be more to life than just chasing a buck and trying to impress people and, convincing ourselves that there's always a monster around the next corner. So it's about, okay, I want to do well for myself, but I also want to do really good things in the world, and I want to be paid well for it too.
Yeah. Well, and I can totally relate, and I'm sure so many people can actually kind of resonate with that idea that, the dream that I had and the things that I chased when it arrived never fulfilled who I was. And that journey is always a challenging one because we plant in our mind's eye this thing that we're going to get to once we get there. And then even if you get there, sometimes the dream life turns into a nightmare. That was my case. It's like I had all the things. It's like, great, had all the things, and I was completely miserable, And so you have to really step back and investigate how, as a coach, do you instill this plant this seed and nurture this idea that, sometimes it's give and take, and you have to kind of discover who you are before you discover how you fulfill who you need to be.
Yeah, well, I think most of us are making an excuse. Well, I don't have time to figure out who I am. I've got to survive. I've got bills to pay. I got kids that need food and a college education, and those are all really valid, very valid concerns. But most of us have approached success from a survival, or what I call a prey mentality, meaning that we really believe, and this is one of the reasons why we find success unfulfilling, is that we really believe we're going to get to this finish line where we're finally going to feel comfortable once and for all. We're never going to have to be uncomfortable again. We're never going to have to feel vulnerable ever again. We really believe we're going to reach this place where we're going to finally feel certain and safe once and for all. There's never going to be the thing we have to be concerned about that's coming around the corner. And then the third thing is we really believe we're going to get to this place where we no longer are vulnerable to any kind of criticism or judgment or looking like a moron. And so what happens is we arrive at these places and I say, well, I thought it would be different when I got here. I must be doing it wrong. And so I can't spend time doing the fulfilling stuff. I can't do the things that actually nourish me. I've got to get to this place first. And I think that's the trap. One of my coaches, Phil Stutz, calls it exoneration, this belief that we're going to get to this place where we are exonerated from this pain and this insecurity and the effort of life once and for all. And so that to answer your question, it's to helping people come back and say, you're always going to be uncomfortable to some degree. You're always going to be in some kind of uncertainty, and you're always going to be at risk of looking like a moron. Yeah. So with those things as a given, let's look at your challenges and let's see which ones you're trying to outrun once and for all. And let's start to see, are there things that we could be doing, we could spend more of our time and energy on today, knowing that you're never going to get a green light or a tap on the shoulder saying, hey, you're set it. You can forget about it now.
Yeah. You're on cruise control.
You're on cruise control. It's over.
You're never on cruise control. And I think a lot of people need to understand that discomfort is the space in which we continue to grow. That's where expansion takes place. That's where we can actually expand our skill set, our knowledge, our understanding of who we are and what we're doing. It's like my lifestyle, my career path it looks more like a pinball machine than a trajectory of a rocket. It's still, yeah. I have enjoyed many circumstances and many experiences, and I continue to grow. I like to learn something every day, and I like to pursue, being a better person tomorrow than I was yesterday. And I think that's really where my comfort level is if I can help somebody, I can learn something, and I can improve who I was yesterday. That to me, it feels like success.
Right. I love the way you put that. And I think that for a lot of us out there, I think we have to go through a period, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 60 years, where we got to run this hamster wheel for a little while. And we've got to learn this place and say, wait a second, is this really what life's all about for me? And then there's that turn, right? Am I going to turn from this fixed mentality where I really want to believe that life is this linear path? I get the good grades, so I get in the good school, so I get in the good job, so I get the good marriage, so I get the good house, like all this other stuff. And we start to recognize that life is seemingly chaotic. Life is that pinball machine, which is full of risk, which is full of uncertainty and full of discomfort. And most of us just don't want that. We really are hoping that there's this magical path. As a podcast host, I get sent a lot of books by well-meaning authors, but I throw most of them in the trash because most of them are perpetuating this idea that life can be this ABC steps, 1, 2, 3 kind of approach, where I think it's more closer to art. It's more like, hey, let's get in there. We got to roll up our sleeves and see what happens through experience, through gathering data. And most of us just don't want to do that. We want the perfect plan first.
Well, and I really could relate to your story. It's like, yeah, I was a musician. I played professionally. And the best years of my life were skiing during the day and playing music at night and having a great lifestyle. It was amazing to me to be able to do that. And that all turned and that changed when I fell 3 stories and broke my arm and shattered my wrist. And, was in 2 years in rehab. And so sometimes our trajectory and our lifestyle and our experience changes, and sometimes it's changed for us. And I think there's still a lesson in that and understanding how we can actually react and respond to circumstances. Because just like you knew something was missing in your life, even though on the outside everybody has said, man, Tripp's got it made. He's like the bomb. He's like knocking it off the park. It's like life is great, and he's out surfing today. And still you're feeling unfulfilled. So what's a major step that you took? What was a transition in your world? Mine was gravity. What was your change in your direction? What prompted that for you?
Well, the first thing I wanted to say is that, we're talking about growth, and we're talking about surrender, right? We're talking about surrendering to a process, something that's larger than us. And I will tell you to this day, I still kick and scream and drag my heels into some of these places. It's not a fun, even though I can grasp this mentally, even though I've gone through these ordeals many times in my life before, there's still a part where it's like, oh, are you kidding me, man? Like, we got to do, I thought, but didn't the other ones count? Like, so I just want to say that as we're speaking here, that there's not some place where you get to and you're like, oh, sweet, another ordeal, another dragon to the, I just
another dragon to slay.
Yeah, it's like, damn it, I thought I was done. So I just want to name that, like, if you're waking up and you got a dragon to slay this morning and it's a pain in the ass, I get it. Like, I don't. Yeah. You're not doing it wrong if it's still a pain in the ass. I just want to say that.
You are okay. You are okay.
It sucks. Yes, and I just don't like that thing of like, oh great, I'm Chuck Norris, I'm going to take on my dragons. You know, it's like, if it helps, you know, put on your kung fu music and go knock it out, you know? So,
Yeah.
but I think that, I think to come back to your question, I think the shift is instead of asking ourselves, what should I do? Or what's my life supposed to look like? Which is it's a lot of the exterior. I call it external authority, right? Life tells us how we're supposed to be. We've been told from an early age how to act and how to dress and how to move through life. Here's what you do. And we never really learn how to tap into our inner authority, which is asking the question, okay, given this is my reality, then what do I want?
Well, I think and I want to ask it a little different way. And I want to phrase it a little different way is like, we get to a place where everything looks like it should be okay. And you know, it's not. And we have to make a choice. We have to make a decision. What the hell am I going to do to change things? Because I know if I stay here, I'm not going to be well. It's not going to be a good thing. So I have to choose. I may not know where I need to go. I just know that I need to go somewhere besides where I am.
Right. Well, I think it's shifting. Most people I talk to just have this, they're so excited and they're so really driven by this idea of purpose. I got to find my purpose in life. And I said, well, you've already got one, whether you realize it or not. And most of the time, if we look at your actions, your day-to-day actions, you have abided, you have committed to avoiding discomfort, avoiding any kind of uncertainty or risk, avoiding anything that would give you any criticism. And this is added up to you having the life that looks amazing, but doesn't feel right, feels off, feels like you're in somebody else's life. And so I say, if that's not the purpose, then we want to shift it. So instead of feeling trapped in this place, what if it tells me that you want to feel free? Instead of feeling drained from this life, tells me you want to feel alive. Instead of isolated, like, wow, I'm surrounded by all these people, but I don't think anybody really gets me. Nobody wants to talk about the things I like to talk about. We want to feel genuinely seen and connected to others and loved for who we are. Instead of feeling bored, overwhelmed, chronically worried, we want a deep sense of peace of mind. So I say, let's shift from that. Let's shift from how things are supposed to look and meeting expectations of who we think we're supposed to be, and start to come back to this internal compass. And how could we, on a day-to-day basis, like in the most small, tiny, mundane ways, start to allow more freedom into your life, start to allow more aliveness into your life, start to allow more genuine love, genuine connection into your life, start to allow greater peace of mind. And most of the time, people kind of bucket this idea because they want another vision. Just tell me what to do. Show me what it looks like. Show me the path, the ABCs, 1, 2, 3.
Can you give me the roadmap? I need the treasure map for the pirate treasure. Yeah.
And there's plenty of guys on stage with little mics hanging off their cheek that'll tell you the roadmap. Like, you just got to do ABC, and then you buy my program for X billions of dollars and whatever, you're on your way. So I'm saying that if you want to come back to this internal authority, this inner authority, it's guiding you, right? Like, that drain is information. It's not something we need to numb. It's not like, oh, I'm feeling that draining feeling again. Let me get some alcohol. Let me go look at porn. Let me go lose myself in a screen. Right. It's coming back and say, well, if I'm feeling drained, then what would have me feel more alive? All right. Well, what would have me feel more alive is maybe I go for a bike ride with with some buddies and go do something a little bit dangerous. It feels a little dangerous, but it's actually not that dangerous. But I get out there, or maybe I go up on stage again and I perform for somebody. That's where I feel alive. It's starting to reconnect to those things. Oh, that feels dangerous. What'll they think of me? You're back up against that purpose that we had before, which is avoid discomfort, avoid risk, avoid looking like a moron. And so the book that I wrote was called This Book Will Make You Dangerous. And it's because it's about easing into those places that feel dangerous to our need to be comfort and safe and, always looking good.
Well, I can relate. I can completely relate. And, having a podcast and being in the industry and, learning and understanding this media and the opportunity to share these ideas is incredibly powerful. And I want to also include, I want to take a minute here, Tripp, and say hi to a few people. Russ Hedge, an amazing individual out of Oregon, doing some great work. Lori Scott, the Queen of Green, doing some amazing gardening efforts there. Russ says, such a great information. You and I have to connect, Tripp. Looking forward to it. Ashraf, good morning. Hyatt Ives out of Houston. Thanks, Hyatt. Good morning, y'all. Kelsey, I think everybody should start a live stream. Don't you think so, Kelsey? Just like, I love this information, Lori says. Mitch says, danger is where all the growth happens. So, and then there's Kelly. Good morning from New York City. Roadmap. Outside world sees the tip of the iceberg, but below the surface are blood, sweat, and tears. True story, Kelly. I don't talk to very many people that have been in podcasting as long as you have. I taught a podcast movement. I did podcasts. I was in radio. My background after I fell and got into music, I was in outdoor advertising, radio and television. And I've seen it evolve and grow and take place. What has your experience been over the last number of years that you've been in podcasting and communicating in this format?
Oh, what's my experience been? I think that it's always come back to I've seen these trends go, and I've never identified as a podcaster. I've always been a coach that had a podcast. I started out as a coach, and one of my clients were these startup founders at a little company that was trying to build a podcast network. And they're like, hey man, you should have your own show and we'll set it up for you and blah, blah. And that's how it started. It wasn't like, I'm going to have a podcast one day. It was like, all right, cool. Let's start it up. Can I curse? Yeah. Okay, great. Then I'll do it. So I never identified myself as a podcaster, but I've always just come back to, as the trends go up and down, I see these people. I've been interviewed by people that ask the same 5 questions or 10 questions or something. It's just like, it's not human. They don't know how to have human connection. They don't know how to follow their genuine curiosity and to have a conversation like you and I are having. And I find that really tapping into that. I think most of us just want to hear a great connection, or like when I'm talking to somebody, I'm thinking about my clients. I'm thinking about, if my client was in the room right now, what question would he love me to ask, or what would he want to ask this person? And that's where my coaching can inform what I'm working with. And I get emails from people. It's like, man, it's like you're inside my head. It's like you understand what I'm thinking about and talking about. I think that's far, far, far more valuable than all this other whiz bang kind of these trends that come and go, where people are wanting to make a splash, but they really don't know how to connect. They don't know how to tap into their own curiosity. They don't know how to genuinely care about something, and they'll move on to the next flashy thing in a few years because they don't have the discipline to stick it out. So I couldn't tell you much about the surface of podcasting and how things have changed on that level because I don't pay attention to that. But I do come back to, what would I want to hear if I was in this situation? What would serve me? And that's been the beacon. That's been the thing that I followed.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I format the show the way I do, is because it's a conversation I want to have. It's like, okay, right. Tripp looks like a cool guy. I don't know. Maybe not. Could be good. Could be bad.
Let's see.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
And the reality is that, and the reason I bring it up is because I believe, especially in the coaching industry, and anybody that is in a place that requires transformation, I don't believe that you can teach without learning something. So this exchange of ideas and these conversations that take place for us is something that we have to really get good at in order to really grow and expand in our lives. And I think, having a podcast or writing a book or coaching other people, it's such an exchange of ideas that we can't help but grow in it. So what are some areas that you've really expanded your life and your ideas and your just your thought process in this journey that you've had in coaching the last few decades?
Well, I'd say that, I was fortunate enough in my first business that the clients came rather easily. I was plugged into a small network and a lot of work came to me easily. So I never had to learn how to do marketing or sales. Like I did good work, and I just took it for granted.
You had a great network.
I had a great network. And then when I was becoming a coach, I had developed this podcast, and my coaching, I hadn't quite put the pieces together on the marketing and sales piece for being a coach. And nonetheless, I had this podcast. It was back in the Wild West. I had a lot of people listening. And I was like, why isn't anybody like, what's going on? And I was really frustrated and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was having a drink with my dad on Christmas night one year. This was years ago. And he's like, I listen to your podcast and I get your emails. And he's like, I don't know why anybody would hire you. And I was like, it was like he drove a stake in my chest. I was like, oh man. But I thought about what he said. I remember laying in bed, like, I should say this and I should say it. But I remember laying in bed and I was like, what did he say? He's like, I don't know why anybody should hire you. If he's paying attention to my stuff and he doesn't know what the offer is.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. He's like, I just don't understand where he couldn't connect it.
Yeah.
And I remember that was transformative in that moment. I was like, I need to be more clear of what the value of coaching is. I'm assuming that people understand what I'm offering, and I'm taking it personally that people aren't buying it.
Yeah.
Long story short, is that
the transformation came through the pain of hearing that from your dad.
Well, the transformation also came from taking action, right? So I took smart action, which was, okay, I need to start translating the value. I need to start telling people stories like, what is coaching? How has coaching helped other people? And I just started telling those stories, whether it was in emails, whether it was in the podcast itself. And like within a few weeks, I'd filled up my coaching practice.
Yeah.
So, but going from that place of like, poor me, something must be wrong with me. The universe is punishing me. People don't like me. Whatever. It was like, whatever this is unfair. That this kind of victim-y thing that was happening, which I hate to admit, but that was going on underneath, to just getting brass tacks and being like, okay, what would have me buy this? Right? What do I need to understand before I would invest in this? Yeah. And then understand that process. That was transformative. And that was transformative, not just for me as a business person, as an entrepreneur, but that was transformative for me as a person. Like that walking that path as somebody who owns a business, I see it over and over again with so many of my clients, is that it transforms who they are as people when they understand what they're bringing to the world, and to really meet the world and say, I want to serve you. I want to bring something powerful, but I also want to do something that's aligned with my values. When I'm not hiding behind somebody else's brand anymore, I'm not hiding behind somebody else's shield or somebody else's logo. I'm going to bring my thing to the world. That is a transformative path. And I've seen it over and over again.
And getting crystal clear on what your offer actually is.
Yeah. And why, and it's like, this isn't just a hobby for me. Like this is what I want to do before I die. I want to bring this work to the world. I want to make this difference in the world. And I want to do it in a way that's sustainable. It's not a hobby. Yeah,
it's not a hobby. I have been accused of being the worst person at self-promotion. I grew a network in Houston, over 1,000 people, and there's still people today that I'm still connected with that have no idea what I do. And I'm thinking to myself, when you're saying this, it's like, I am so guilty. I am so guilty of being unclear on how I can add value to your world. And it's really tragic in a lot of ways. And so this year, that's one of my major goals, is to boil down this message, make sure, because the Pirate Broadcast is really a tool to power the Pirate Syndicate. And the Pirate Syndicate is the platform that allows me to produce shows for other people, to teach producers how to produce shows for other people, and also to teach people that may not have a team or a whole bunch of people that want to learn all of these skills to create their own show just like this. Mm-hmm. And after over 330 shows, I've got this system fairly well down, and it's pretty streamlined, and it's pretty comfortable for people to get on and have a conversation just like this. And so boiling that message down has not been a straight line. It's more like the pinball path. It's like, okay, need to figure out what needs to come next and how it needs to be messaged and who is for, and who's going to be attracted to this platform. And I truly believe in video, and I believe in audio and podcasting and the whole industry. And it's just amazing to me to go through this process and say, okay, stop the squirrel hunting, focus on one thing. Like you said, the discipline of completing something, don't be bouncing around from thing to thing to thing just because it doesn't work the first time you try it out.
You said something really powerful in there. One of my coaches, Daniel Priestley, I talk about this in the book. he says, you know, we all look at the guy who is the arrogant self-promoter. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but I think we all know somebody in our life that is the arrogant. Look how great I am. He tends to hype or inflate what he can do, and we all. Very few of us want to be that person. Very few of us want to bring that to our professional world and that offering. We look down on that type. So what do we tend to do? We tend to deflate the truth. We tend to deflate what we do. Oh shucks, you know, I don't do anything.
So simple.
Yeah, I don't. I just hide it back here, and I'm going to tuck it away. And he kind of brought it. Was like, what if you were a doctor and somebody needs your help, and you're like, oh shucks, you know, I can't really. I don't really, you know. I'm at a party right now. I don't want to talk about that. It's like you're doing a disservice to the world. Bottom line, you're being a jerk. Not you, but that guy that has something that would really help people. Somebody's got a message, wants to bring it out the world. Like whatever that thing is, when we hide out, we're still in that egoic game. On one level, we want to inflate how good we look. And on the other level, we're still looking in the mirror like, is my butt look big here? I don't want people to criticize how I look. We're still in this place where we're not making it about the people who we want to serve. Yeah. When we shift into that, who do I want to serve? And suddenly what do I look like we don't think about that as much. It's just like, I know this is going to help this guy, Tim, and I'm going to ask this question for my buddy, Tim, and I'm going to get this out there. It's not about what do I look like. So we stop inflating who we are, but we also stop deflating who we are. And we simply bring our thing to the world.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's important to understand. And for anybody listening today or in the future or any time, I believe that everyone has a gift. Everybody has a message that they can share, and not everybody's willing to share their message, their gifts. However, my goal and my mission in life is to create an opportunity for everyone that wants to share their gift and their message to do it in a way that makes it easy for them to access. And so, going out there and putting this together, because the technology we're living in an amazing time. You know, we can pick up a mic, you can broadcast immediately. Years ago in the broadcasting world, when you had to do a remote or go someplace, it's a truck, a satellite dish, an engineer or two, and microphones and cables and everything else just to get the broadcast out the door. Now you just pick up your phone and start talking. And a lot of people fail to realize how incredibly lucky we are or fortunate we are to have this opportunity right now and document our direction and our choices in our lives. So it's really amazing for me to have people like you talking about this on the show today. So
yeah. How do we empower others? I think when we come back to meaning, we haven't talked about meaning yet today, but that firstly, we were talking about that guy's like, hey, I just got to do well in the world. I got to make my money and I got to do this thing. And then it's like, okay, I got to make my money and I got to do well because I want to support my family.
Yeah.
And then there's this next level of development, which is, well, I can support my family and I can support myself, but I've got something else to give. And now we're tapping into that whatever that is that's bigger than us. And the key to our peace of mind is providing something that helps or empowers or builds up something bigger than us or contributes to something bigger than us.
Legacy.
We ignore that. When we ignore how important meaning is in our life, then we could be doing, quote, good work, but it won't have the same satisfaction. And so a lot of times when guys come to me and say, I think I need to leave my career, I think I need to move on or whatever, oftentimes we just need to shift the context and say, well, what if you were doing ABC for different people? You're a musician.
Yeah.
I was perfectly happy playing 6 hours a day, playing guitar 6 hours a day by myself in high school. And then it was like, all right, this sucks. I want to be in a band. I want to go perform. Yeah. And then it was like, that's great. I'm getting tired of playing for a room of 10, 15 people. I want to play in a larger room, right? It's like it's about expanding that sense of we and that sense of us or all of us. But it was never like I didn't like music anymore. It was like, where's the context? I want to share music in this different context. So same thing with podcasting, same thing with any of our work is coming back to, okay, where is it more meaningful for me? And maybe I can leverage all the tools, all the experiences, all of the ways that I can help others in a way. And then ultimately it comes back to me and it's reborn.
Yeah. And especially when you get to that point where it's not all about what I want, it's about what can I give? What can I what can I pursue in expanding this to help other people? And I think that's where, you start getting into the meaning and the legacy and everything around it. So, well, Tripp, this has been a phenomenal conversation, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to connect and catch up. And I look forward to future conversations as well. I would love to, I'll follow the podcast and like and subscribe and all the good things that social media tells us we need to do. And is there anything else that we can do to add value to your day and move you forward in your world?
I think if you've enjoyed this conversation, then you'd probably get a kick out of the book that I wrote. This book will make you dangerous. The idea is to go into some of these deeper ideas, but to do so in a way where you could have a laugh and enjoy yourself at the same time.
That's fantastic. And as always, everyone, like and subscribe, and please share this with someone. This might be just the trigger that allows somebody to believe they can do something better. They can do something greater. They can support someone else in their environment and their relationships. And it's really important for me to offer amazing conversations to you and share this information with you. And it's the reason kindness is cool. Smiles are free. And I want you to enjoy your day. Thanks, Tripp.
Thanks, Russ. I appreciate it.
Enjoy the day. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate.